In this lesson, I wanted to talk about a sort of category of guitar licks involving sixths. These are really common licks for a lot of different guitar players, and they're really kind of almost essential to sort of the vocabulary of guitar improv. These licks work great in blues, rock, country, bluegrass, jazz, you name it. They're really effective licks. They're easy to visualize, and they sound great pretty much right out of the box because they target chord tones very directly. There are actually two different types of sixths, major and minor, and in the web page that I made that goes along with this lesson, I go into some detail on what that means. What's really important for right now, though, is the way that those look on the neck of the guitar. Once you can visualize them, they're really easy to use and incorporate into your playing. So the most common grouping of sixths, and the source for most of the licks that you hear, involves two shapes that are really common and really easy to visualize. I'm going to do my examples in the key of A, and so the first one is based off of the standard E-shaped bar chord. So for A, that's here on the 5th fret, caged E shape, if you like to think of it that way. And it's right here and right here. So I'm on 3rd string, 6th fret, 1st string, 5th fret. And then associated with that, just a few frets higher on the neck, you've got the caged D shape, which would give you an A here like this, or it's easier to just see like this. And I'm grabbing those notes both on the 9th fret, on the 3rd and 1st strings. Generally speaking, when I'm playing these, my middle finger is always on the 3rd string, and then I grab the upper note with my index finger and my ring finger, depending on the shape, right? So for this shape, it's those two fingers. For this shape, it's those two fingers. So one sort of cliche type of lick that uses this pattern is from the song The Killing Floor by Howlin Wolf, also covered by Jimi Hendrix, and also heavily borrowed from, if not fully ripped off, by Jimmy Page in Led Zeppelin's song, the Lemon Song, on Zeppelin 2, in the bridge of that song. So it takes the 2/6 that we already have. It also uses this one in between as sort of a connector. And so over this A chord, what it does is this. So again, I'm grabbing that upper shape out of this D shape and the lower shape out of this caged E shape, and I'm connecting them with what's in between right there. And I'm just kind of letting my middle finger sort of lay down and mute that 2nd string that's in between so you don't hear it, and that way when I'm strumming on it with my pick, you're really just hearing those two notes of the 6th. You may have also heard like a 12-bar blues turnaround involving this sort of a thing, and it adds an additional passing note in between. So this would start, again, we're in the key of A, and this would start with that upper shape here, and then it walks down like that. So here we're connecting that uppermost one with the two passing notes, and then the lowermost one here. A lot of times when I use that lower one, I do a little hammer on like this. That gets used a lot in the blues like that. So there's one other 6th real quick that I should cover that goes well with an A7 chord. And if you're doing blues or whatever, chances are that the sound of the 7th chord is going to work really well. This 6th, I actually, in my head, I'm associating it with the 9th chord. You might know this 9th chord, sort of the James Brown style 9th chord. I'm doing it for A9 here on the 11th and 12th frets like this. And if you look at the 1st and 3rd strings out of that, you get another 6th right there. So now, between all of these options that I have for the A chord, I've got where I started down here, the chromatic connectors there, and now I can add that one on top. That gives me a lot of different options for an A chord, and I can kind of hang out and play around with those. I can use sort of chromatic approaches to those and find different ways to mix them up and come up with a lot of different licks. also use sixths to add a little melodic sound to an otherwise straightforward sort of pentatonic blues lick, something like this. So because they target chord tones so directly, these licks add a nice melodic sound to just about anything you want to do. Now we can also get almost this exact same pattern on the second and fourth strings. Now these are associated with different caged shapes though, but it still works out to about the same pattern. So now I'm going to switch to the key of D, and I have like the caged C shape right here on the second fret, and out of that I get this sixth. So now I'm on the fourth string, fourth fret, and the second string, third fret, and that gives me a part of a D chord. And then also I have a D chord using the caged A shape, and I get these notes here on the seventh fret, both on the second and fourth strings, by the way. And I can connect those the same way. And then also above that, I have that one that comes from the seventh chord like I was just talking about. In this case, I'm visualizing a D7 chord here on the 10th fret with this little shape, and if you look at the second and fourth strings within that shape, that's a sixth as well. So now we've covered most of the neck horizontally here, and we have two different string groupings to work from. So we have a lot of different options, and you can use all of these to sort of follow the chords in a chord progression. So I'm going to slowly walk through what I might do using sixth in a 12-bar blues, and then I'll do a play-along track and play it in real time so you can hear it in context. So in a 12-bar blues in A, I'm starting on an A7 chord, so maybe I would do something like this. And then it switches to a D chord, so now I might move to this D chord here on the 10th fret and go. And then it switches back to A, and maybe I'll work my way back down. And then the 5 chord is an E7, so now I'm going to move to the other string grouping, the second and fourth strings, and use this E7, or this E chord here as my beginning point. And then the D chord comes up, and now we're back to the A. And then an E on the turnaround. So let me start up a backing track and do some of that in context so you can hear what I'm talking about. So there are quite a few other real-world examples of how sixths have been used in well-known recordings and all that you can check out on the webpage that I made that accompanies this lesson. It's all there at highcountryguitar.com.